Anime. Okay, now that I have your attention, it feels like we're in a new timeline where anime is now being accepted by the mainstream, and the ever-growing popularity of the medium is a sight to see. Back then, if you said anything positive about anime, you would get bullied for being a weeb and a nerd. And like, yeah, while that still happens to this day, it's actually quite rare now, as there have been hundreds upon hundreds of anime that can get anyone to open the gates and experience new shows and genres. It actually seems like now, if you haven't been keeping up with the latest anime that has been popping off, you're seen as an outcast. There have been a dozen of popular anime that seem to get people hyped whenever they're mentioned. Fullmetal Alchemist, Dragon Ball Z, Demon Slayer, they're all categorized as some of the best when it comes to Japanese animation. And heck, I even have a few favorites that I've seen as well, ranging from Attack on Titan, to My Hero Academia, to Death Note, to even Pokemon, which was probably everyone's favorite anime as a kid. Don't kid yourself, everyone was a Pokemon fan at the age of 5.
It's Diglett!
But for some lingering reason, there has been one anime that I've been avoiding for decades now, and it's only gotten more and more increasingly popular as the new season came to a close. I'm of course talking about One Piece.
Hey, look! Apples!
Oh boy, this show. Look, when it comes to certain anime that I either want to see, or when someone recommends it to me, it usually is around a certain low amount of episodes where I can easily watch and digest most of the content given. Especially if it's a new show that came out, like Jujutsu Kaisen, where I was willing to watch the whole show given the few episodes it had at the time, and I've been a fan ever since. But the gigantic juggernaut that is One Piece just kept making me take 2 steps back with how long the show has been going, and with the amount of arcs that take place, and so many characters they shove in, it was really overwhelming for me. And I just kept pushing it back, hoping I wouldn't have to deal with the behemoth of a show. But like how all slow addictions start, I was pressured by a coworker to start watching the show, since the latest season just ended, and the ever-growing popularity of the anime and characters were all over the internet. And I mean, I'm familiar with some of the characters, and I like the concept as well, a bunch of misfits forming as a pirate group, and finding tons of treasure, including the titular One Piece. What do I have to lose? And hey, since I'm really starting to take my YouTube channel more seriously, why not document my journey through watching all of One Piece, and giving my thoughts through the different seasons and arcs that our main characters go through. I especially feel like One Piece fans would like to hear what a newcomer has to say, and give out their opinions on the show. So, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna watch all of One Piece through its entirety, from the very beginnings of the East Blue, to its so far current arc, Egghead, and give my thoughts throughout. And so far, as of recording this, I have gotten up to episodes 1 through 61, which includes the arc starting at Romance Dawn, all the way to Warship Island. So, let this One Piece newbie tell you his experiences with the show so far.
You want to tell me what you are?
I'm just a guy who ate the gum-gum fruit.
Okay, so I'd like to point out that I have been watching One Piece on Crunchyroll, which allowed me to watch the first 5 episodes dubbed for free, then the rest with subtitles. Now, I'm more of a sub guy myself, but I do want to go check out what the characters sounded like with dubbed voices, and I think they sound pretty good with what I imagined them to sound like. Zoro with a serious tone, Luffy with his Ash Ketchum-like personality, Buggy being a little kooky in the head, but yeah, I pretty much watched this sub for the rest of the show, which I think is the best way to go. Also, I like to point out I usually skip the intros and closing songs for the most part, since I like to get to the story right away and go on to the next episode. But I think these openings and closings are pretty good for the most part. So the story pulls no punches in how it wants to start, as we're immediately thrown into tons of action scenes, with the signature anime tropes you usually see, as the fight scenes are well choreographed and visually pleasing. And this came out in 1999, so this is impressive. You know, the fight scenes are. Yes, although the fight sequences are fantastic, the rest of the animation can feel a little limited in some places. They usually do that whole repeat cut in some episodes, and shows since the first season was on a low budget. But I can give credit that the art style here is very accurate to the manga it's based on, so at least they're keeping to their source material. But man, you don't want me to yap about these little things, and probably want me to get to the good stuff, like the characters. And oh man, do we have a bunch of unique individuals right here. Obviously, I think the Straw Hats are what we should focus on first, since they're pretty much the main characters here. Starting off with everyone's favorite Straw Hat, Zoro.
Gotcha, bitch!
Oh my goodness, Zoro is such a menace here. He's honestly my favorite character so far. With his loyalty to Luffy and the other pirates, his experience as a three-wielding swordsman, he has the best fight sequences in the first season by far, and funny enough, he's probably the only character so far who really didn't get a full arc for himself, if we don't count the first arc with him joining Luffy. And yet, his character is still one of the coolest and saddest at the same time. I love his backstory about him wanting to become the best swordsman ever, even with his failures at beating the dojo's daughter Kuina. And at the tragic death of Kuina, Zoro pushes on and keeps his pledge to Kuina with him.
Kuina is dead, Zoro.
They said she slipped and fell down the storehouse steps.
Also, I find it funny how Zoro becomes a deadly pirate hunter until Luffy persuades him to join his pirate crew instead. And yeah, now it's time to talk about Luffy. Easily one of the most recognizable figures in anime of all time, yet when you really get into the anime itself, you'll find out that Luffy is actually a pretty divisive character in the fanbase. And I can definitely see why.
Bro really thinks he's woke.
Look, aside from Zoro, Luffy has some of the best action scenes here, especially with his supernatural powers, with Luffy and his rubber body. Watching him come out with new techniques as he uses his devil fruit abilities, and taking down really strong villains that you would think would win easily, makes him enjoyable to watch. But then, there's the other side of Luffy. You know, the really dumb side.
You are made of stupid.
Being the captain of the Straw Hats, you would want a fearless leader ready to take on any battle. And while Luffy is fearless, he doesn't really have a lot of great ideas. Luffy really is that basic shonen protagonist that doesn't really have that much depth to him, other than he's dim-witted, he eats a lot, and he shows no fear. I do like him as a comedic relief, but that's kind of hard when you try to make the comic relief the main guy. And while his fight scenes are great, I'm not gonna lie when I say that it's not surprising when Luffy is going to win his battles when he shows no fear. Like, come on, that's basic Shonen 101. Your main character has to be fearless in order to win victorious. And with Luffy taking them head on without a hint of fear, it makes me lose interest in him just a little. But with his drawbacks, it actually shows why he needs a crew in the first place. Yeah, he's dumb, but that's why he recruited Nami and Sanji to navigate and cook and actually think logically. Yeah, Luffy is good with fights, but not with weapon combat, so he has Zoro to be another fearless fighter. Luffy doesn't have the best ideas, but that's why he assembled a pirate crew in the first place, and shows the importance of every member.
The right thing to do is get this guy to join you!
Well, I haven't made up my mind yet. I gotta see if he's a good guy.
He's imprisoned because he's obviously not!
And speaking of comedic relief, it's time to talk about Usopp.
I cut.
I stretch.
I steal.
I hide.
I'm not too keen on Usopp. Now, hear me out, this is the first 60 episodes, so he might grow on me. But, it's hard to root for someone who is an utter coward for most of the season.
You are a coward.
De plenty sometime.
You are a coward. You are a coward!
Now, Usopp does have his moments. I think him trying to stand up to Kuro was good. I appreciate his bravery towards this bounty hunter after chickening from our duel. And his comedic moments shine perfectly after battling this fishman. But most of the time, Usopp kinda just becomes unbearable. His cowardness overshines his brave moments as he constantly whines and whimpers about their next destination, and his role for the Straw Hats haven't really come into full tuition yet. He's pretty much the inventor and sniper of the group, which we have seen in a couple of episodes, but really, his overall fears and constant lying really overshadow all of that. Not surprising his appearance is based on Pinocchio. In this corner, we have dim-witted Luffy. And in this corner, we have Sir Lies-a-Lot Usopp. Let's see who annoys me the most. Oh, it's a tie. They're both irritating in their own ways. Now, of course, this is just the first season, so I can definitely see Usopp and Luffy grow on me from time to time. Then we have the ship's cook, Sanji. Very late in the game, Sanji actually became a favorite of mine. He's just as strong as Zoro and Luffy when it comes to combat, and it's noted that he always uses his feet when fighting because his delicate hands are for cooking. He's got this real suave personality to him, like nonchalant and calm in certain situations. Heck, he might be my second favorite of the group behind Zoro, since both really do have that cool factor in them. Unfortunately though, Sanji does have that anime trope of the pervy, love-struck guy you usually see in anime.
Nami, can you see how well I'm protecting your trees?
Yes, you're doing very well.
Him constantly gawking at Nami did get pretty old quick, and I can definitely see that becoming a running gag later in the series. But overall, a pretty solid character. And that leads to our final member, and only female in the group so far, Nami. Nami really is a complex character. We don't really know what her deal is in the very beginning of the first few episodes until she finally runs into Luffy. You never know when she's friends or foes with certain characters, and never really part of the group to begin with, calling it just a quick alliance before she gets to her main mission. And yeah, we will definitely get to that main mission. I think Nami is a really fascinating character because she really has a lot of tricks up her sleeve, always siding back and forth with certain crews in order to stay ahead of her own plans. Heck, even after I finished the East Blue season, I still don't know if I can trust her as being an actual member of the Straw Hats. While she is a trickster, she also does have a heart, and is usually the brains of the crew, navigating their next destination, planning out certain attacks, and being a notorious cat burglar. It also helps that she has one of the saddest backstories, which, yes, we will get to. Other characters I should probably mention are Kobe, a kid Luffy meets in the first episode who wants to be a marine and take down pirates. While I did find him a little annoying, I am excited to see his next encounter with Luffy as his marine journey continues. There's Alvida, a pretty obese lady who was the first pirate Luffy encountered and defeated, taking out most of the fat she had and transforming her to, it's getting a little steamy in here. What was I talking about again?
Hey, quit fapping.
Buggy, who seems to be the recurring comic relief villain of the show. He kinda reminds me of Team Rocket, always showing up before being defeated for another time. I don't mind him. Kuro, who by concept is a pretty cool character, but we'll get to that later. Don Krieg, who kinda reminds me of one of those One Punch Man villains who easily gets knocked out. Mihawk, a mysterious swordsman who I honestly want to see more of. Arlon, a really menacing fishman pirate who's probably the best villain I've seen so far. And lastly, Smoker, a captain in Lowtown looking to take down Luffy and his bounty. I feel like I'm missing someone else. Well, it will come back to me eventually. I also have to mention a huge thing that makes some of these characters so strong, and that's the power of the Devil Fruit. Man, do these fruits come in handy for certain pirates. They pretty much hold certain abilities for them when consumed, but takes away their ability to swim. Of course, Luffy ate the Gum Gum fruit, which makes him a stretchy rubber man. Buggy ate the Chop Chop fruit, which allows his body to split in pieces in combat. Then there's the Slip Slip fruit, which allows one's body to be smooth and slip off attacks. And lastly, the Smoke Smoke fruit, which turns the human into a smoke person, controlling and creating smoke at will. Every shonen anime has that thing that stands characters out with their abilities, and in One Piece, the Devil Fruits are really a cool addition for bringing out a character's strengths. But okay, we're really getting to the meat of what makes One Piece so special, and that's the arcs that our Straw Hat pirates face. Starting off with Romance Dawn, it's a nice introduction to Luffy and his go-lucky personality. I really like the bond he and Zoro have, with the former rescuing Zoro from the Marines and convincing him to join his crew of 2, giving Zoro the title of pirate instead of pirate hunter. Also, we do get a flashback of Luffy's past, and how he ate the Devil Fruit and his relationship with Shanks, this handsome fellow, and how he got his signature straw hat. That might be referencing something there. Orange Town is another fun arc, with Buggy as the main antagonist, and the official introduction of Nami. This is definitely a great arc for its pure silliness, yet still sinister portrayal on how strong Buggy can become. I could care less about his 2 henchmen. The Beast Tamer and Acrobat do feel like it's just low-hanging fruit for our heroes to take down. I like this dog. His dedication to guard a shop for its master is really cute. This also puts Nami's loyalty to test, as her switching sides between Buggy and Luffy really shows her untrustworthiness at the beginning, as her true motivations aren't yet shown. Then we have Surah Village.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit that I have ever heard.
This was probably the most slogging arc to get through. Well, not long, as there's only 9 episodes, it still feels like it's freaking 30 episodes. Like I said, I'm still trying to get used to Usopp as a character, and his intro doesn't leave a huge impression, as he's such a boy who cries wolf when he thinks pirates are coming. I think his connection to the sick girl Kaya is sweet, as that's the only enjoyment he gets other than being a captain to a bunch of 6-year-olds. But then we get to our antagonist Kuro, a pirate disguised as a butler for Kaya in order to get to her treasure. And while I do like Kuro as a character, I think his motives are kind of dumb. First off, I don't think anyone is intimidated by a bunch of cat pirates, and I think this hypnotist was really a waste of a character. But Kuro can't do his job of assassinating Kaya because his crew hasn't gone up the slope yet to raid the village, which you could still assassinate her, I don't think it matters. And man, this whole slope fight just feels like ages to pick up. We get new useless characters, the fight between Luffy and Kuro takes way too long, the hiding in the forest with the kids and Kaya also take up way too much space. I feel like if this arc was shorter, I would enjoy it a lot more, but alas, this is my least favorite part of the season 1. They do get their iconic ship though, so I guess that is a win. We got Barashi, which has the coolest location so far, a restaurant in the middle of the sea. We meet these two bounty hunters of Zoro who definitely exist, but the real highlight is the relationship between Sanji and the head chef Zeph, as the relations date way back when Sanji was a kid and got saved by Zeph, and started the sea restaurant ever since. This arc has some of the best action sequences, with Luffy up against Don Krieg, Zoro facing off against his idol Mihawk, and Sanji showing off his sweet high kicks because, you know, his delicate hands are for cooking. This is also the time Nami decides to leave with the crew's treasure, as her suspicions are even more mysterious. Honestly, I wish I would have liked Don Krieg's second in command Gin a lot more. While I did like the sudden surprise of him actually being chief commander of his crew, he just seems so weak in my eyes, from the desperation of food and the urgent begging he does towards Don Krieg's roughhousing. And yeah, this is the problem I have with Luffy and his no fear mechanism as he defeats Don Krieg. Like, I did like Luffy's disadvantage in fighting around water, but like, it was an easy match. But overall, this arc was pretty solid. But not as solid as Arlong Park, baby! Yeah, we made it! Woo! Yeah, Arlong Park is by far the best arc here. I mean, everything about this is S tier. Story elements? S tier. Character development? S tier. Best fight sequences? S tier. Great villains? S tier. No, wait, hold on. The octopus was kind of annoying. I don't know about that last one. But yeah, for any One Piece fan that really got them into the show, we'll direct this arc right here. I mean, oh my goodness, there's a lot to enjoy here. Of course, Nami's whole backstory of losing her adopted mother, then being raised by the fishmen and drawing maps to find treasure for them is truly heartbreaking. You can tell the captivity within her is soul-crushing, as she just wants her village's freedom back, even when she finds out it was all a trick. And man, Arlong himself is such a good villain. His sarcastic playfulness with Nami, and sinister demeanor he has with his crew is just outstanding. And while the fights here might not be as great as the ones from Barachi, they still showed a solid representation of what our characters can do on their own, with each going off against Arlong's mates. I personally like the Usopp Hammer, Luffy's battle axe move, the whole scene with Zoro and the octopus was great. I love seeing that stupid fishman get wrecked. But honestly, two things stand out to me personally. First off, that walk-in scene. Like, that's just awesome. You can't tell me this is a great shot right here. And yeah, the whole help me scene with Nami and Luffy is iconic, with Luffy putting his hat on Nami and saying he will fight for her is truly something special. This arc, man, like, wow.
He's gonna pay!
There's a small arc about Buggy and his misadventures. It's mostly just filler though. But then we get to Logtown, a pretty low-key part of the season. Most of the time, it's our main five going through different shenanigans in the town, like Sanji competing in a cooking competition, or Zoro buying new swords. But the main plot revolves around Buggy and Alvida trying to take down Luffy, while Marine Smoker also tries to collect Luffy's bounty. Nothing too special, but does show more development between Buggy and Alvida, and the introduction to Smoker. Then there's Warship Island, who I don't really see a lot of fans talk about, and that's probably a good thing, since I also thought that these last 7 episodes were kind of unnecessary. I didn't really care too much about this girl and this dragon, and felt as if it was just filler arc to get ready for the Grand Line in Season 2. But that's just me. And yeah, that's the East Blue. And I've gotta say, for avoiding the show for so long, I'm actually kind of impressed with how much I enjoyed this first season. It's not perfect by any means, but a pretty solid first impression for newcomers who want to get in on the anime. Some characters can get under your skin a bit, but with more time to flesh them out, I can definitely see them growing on me in the future. The story arcs are really engaging, and I can't wait to see what the Grand Line awaits for our Straw Hat Pirates. It might take a while for me to make another video of One Piece, since I do have a bunch of other video ideas I want to do, but any One Piece fans out there watching this video, please share with me your experiences on your journey, and what I should get hyped up for while watching. I definitely want to hear your stories with these characters and universes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.